Okay, so you're good with the knit stitch, you're good with the purl stitch, it's time to actually make something. Yay! So what I want you to do is go ahead and pull your needle out of your knitting, and I want you to slowly just unravel the yarn. Just pull it right out, and you can wrap it back around the ball or put it in a little pile next to you on the couch, whatever you think. Then I want you to find the PDF on this page that says Learn to Knit and print it out, or save it to your phone or something so you have easy access to it. You will notice that the first step in the scarf pattern is to cast on 20 stitches, and then there's border rows. You're going to knit 4 rows. So I want you to go ahead and do that. That looks like this. So you can see I've got my 20 stitches here, and I've done my border rows. I've just knit and then turned it over, knit, turned it over, knit, turned it over, knit. Now, here is the time where if you want your scarf to be wider or skinnier, you can cast on less rows. I am using a certain size needle and yarn, and yours might be thicker or smaller, so definitely cast on as many stitches as you want your scarf to be wide. So once you've knit your border rows, you are going to start on section 1. If you look at section 1 of the PDF, it says row 1, you're going to knit. Row 2, you're going to purl. Row 3, you're going to knit. Row 4, you're going to purl. So this is different from what we've done before. We've just knit every single row, turned it over, turned it over, turned it over, knit every row. We've done the same thing with purl, but that was just for practice. So now we're actually going to knit a row, turn it over, purl a row, turn it over, knit a row. Does that make sense? So I'm going to go ahead and do section 1, and I want you to do section 1 also, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, you're through row 8, and something like magical has happened. So check this out. Here's mine. Isn't that crazy? So down here was where we knit every single row, and up here was where we did the 8 rows of alternating knits with purls. So when you alternate a knit row with a purl row like that, you collect all the V-necks on one side of the work, and you collect all of the purl stitches or the turtlenecks on the other side. Let's turn it over. So if I turn this over, you can see that all up here is all turtlenecks. Now down here it looks like turtlenecks too, but if I stretch it out, at the bottom you can see some V-necks in there because we were doing V-necks on this side too. Now there is a very distinct front and back. This is the back, this is the front, okay? They also call this the right side and the back is the wrong side. So grab your PDF pattern, and at section 1, take a look at row 1. It says parentheses RS. That means right side. If you look at row 2, it says to purl. Then it says parentheses wrong side. So what happens is a lot of the time this section right here should always be on the front side. As a beginner, you'll do another section of this in between. So it's going to alternate between this and this and this and this and this and this across your whole up your whole scarf. So a lot of times you'll accidentally flip it and put this on the back side. So when you are on row 1, before you start knitting, you should be looking at the right side. That's how you know you're in good shape and you can go ahead and start and you're still on the right side. Now the other thing I want to show you is I used this little stitch counter. So every time I did a row, at the end I would click and it would tell me what I was on, and then I would do another row and then I would click. So that's how I made sure that I got through 8 rows. You can use a pen and write on your pattern if you want to, or if you have a smartphone, you can just download an app. So look for something like Knit Counter or Stitch Counter or something like that. There's a whole bunch of them. It's kind of crazy. All right, so if we look at the pattern again, you'll see that section 2 is knit every row for 8 rows. Whew. Okay, so now we get a break from purling and we can just knit every row for 8 rows. So your challenge here is just to make sure that when you're done with the first row, you mark it somehow. Either use the clicker, which is called a stitch counter, or use the app, or write it on the pattern. And then you're just going to alternate between those 2 sections until your scarf is as long as you want it. You may have to, once you run out of yarn, if you would like it to be longer, you'll have to take your second ball of yarn and add that in. So go ahead and knit for as long as you possibly can with the yarn you have in pattern, and then we will talk about joining your second ball so that you can make it even longer. So I'll see you there. Have fun!